Go ahead. Well, good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year. Welcome to the coaches call for winter and spring games. I just wanted to thank everybody for one, taking the time to be on the call tonight, but also two, just partnering with us at Special Olympics. It's been 2022 was a year of a lot of adapting and changing with return to play and with the changing in some of our staffing, and as well as just the new sports seasons coming along too. So I appreciate that you're joining us as we continue to progress as Special Olympics Wisconsin and everything that you guys do with your program. So tonight we're going to go over a lot of different things, including the return to play and some of the sports seasons. And so this is just a great opportunity for us to connect each season, as well as go over some questions that we may have as we move forward into this new sports seasons that we have. So thanks again for jumping on tonight, and we'll get to the agenda.
So I just want to quickly touch base on this. I guess I should introduce myself first. So my name is Nicole Christensen. I know many of you, but not everyone here on the call tonight. So I am the Senior Director of Sports for Special Olympics Wisconsin. I started in this role back in October, and previously I was the Region 6 Athletic Director for about 3 years prior to that. So I'm excited to get these going and kick off our 2023 sports seasons. So I just want to touch base quickly on the Coaches Call series. So as you all know, you registered online for these Coaches Calls. We'll do 4 throughout the year. So we have this one here tonight for winter and spring seasons on Thursday, March 9th at 7 p.m. We will have our summer season sports call. We'll have a call for our fall games plus golf. So that will be golf, softball, bocce, t-ball, and softball. Did I say softball? Flag football and flag football. That one will be on Thursday, June 29th at 7 p.m. And I want to point that one out. We did change the date of that tournament, or of that meeting. So that one will be one week later than originally scheduled. That's going to be Thursday, June 29th. The last one covering bowling and volleyball on Thursday, September 21st. So that will kind of bring us through the seasons for 2023. In addition to those preseason meetings, we'll also have state games coaches meetings. Instead of doing those on site like we've done in the past, we've kind of transitioned into doing those on Zoom the week prior to the event. So all of those tournament state games coaches meetings will happen on the Tuesday prior to an event at 7 p.m. So for winter games, it will be the prior Tuesday, February 7th at 7 p.m. And all that will be communicated in pre-tournament information that will go out with each state games. So that's just a quick note on the Coaches Call series. I'll continue to include that registration link. So if you have any other coaches in your program that you'd like to share that with, please feel free to pass that along. Jason or Sam, if you guys want to quickly, Sam, chime in about medical deadlines, just an update on where we're at as we approach our spring medical deadline.
Yeah, so the upcoming medical deadline for basketball and swimming is February 1st. You should have received a memo from me in December listing all of your current athletes who may need a new medical postmarked by February 1st if they are a swimming or basketball athlete. I would be checking your rosters that I send every week very carefully if you are expecting medicals to come in, and see if their expiration date updated. If not, and you were made aware that a medical was sent in, please call me and ask me if I have received it and if there were any issues as to why it wasn't processed. And that's all from me for now.
Is Jeannie or Lexi on? Jeannie or Lexi, I don't think they're on. Okay, well, if they hop on, they we'll touch base about a couple things that we're doing upcoming for athlete leadership. But for now, we'll jump ahead. Mark, if you want to talk about polar plunge, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the website with our dates and you can jump in there.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, down this half of the woods, it isn't quite, it's not cold and there's no snow, but I got the feeling that that'll be changing a little bit. Just wanted to remind everybody that it's that time of year for the polar plunge. If you as a local program want to or recommending getting a team together, we have modified and increased the kind of percentage back to all of the state local programs based on what you earn as a group. The biggest thing is if you can't attend one of the 8 locations in person, the virtual plunge is a great option. And it also gives you a little bit of freedom to do whatever you feel would be a fun activity. I know Hartford is going to be getting hosed down by the local fire department. A couple others are doing some snow angels and a lot of other different things. So please help us out. Please help, in getting some rebates back into your local program. When you do sign up for the polar plunge, make sure that you put your local program number at the beginning so we can track it and make sure that you get the credit for that. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and give me a shout or an email and we'll talk it through you. But enjoy the plunge.
I have a question.
Hi, Bev.
Hi. It's not so much for you as it is for Jason. At bowling, he talked about doing something at the Winter Games.
Bev, you gotta wait. We're coming out with that. You're jumping the gun.
I thought I was going to ask during Polar Plunge, not Winter Games.
Well, it's part of Winter Games, so
I'll wait.
you gotta wait.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so we will move right along here. I do want to preface this. I apologize to everyone, but I do actually have 2 PowerPoints for tonight. That's how much information we have ready for you guys. So please bear with me. It's all great information. And like I said, please feel free to add any questions in the chat and we'll just try to power through. So I'm going to start with return to play. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. And again, this PowerPoint is mostly just so I don't forget anything, but it could be a good reference for our visual learners as well. So before I dive into some of our new guidance from SOI, everyone should have received the new return to play guidance from Jason. I believe that went out late last week. So I hope you've all had time to review that. We're just going to kind of dive through and touch on some of the high level things here and answer any questions that you all may have. So before I start, I do just want to say thank you to all of you and any other coaches in your program that have helped implement the safety protocols over the past 2 years. We had to do lots of stuff at tournaments as well, but you all are truly the biggest part of creating a safe environment each and every week for our athletes to stay active, socialize, and compete. And that I cannot overstate how important that was for so many athletes in our movement. So I just wanted to quickly say thank you to you all. I hope everyone will be pretty excited with some of the new guidance that we have in this newest version. So we'll just jump right in. So SOI has moved towards following local health regulations first and foremost. So for the past 2 years, SOI and we have adopted SOI's policies have often enforced stricter protocols than what our local county or state health authorities have deemed necessary because we serve a population that is generally more high risk than the public. But the pandemic has come to a point where, as you'll see in the next few slides, we'll just primarily follow our local health regulations from any city, county, state, or national bodies when ruled by local authorities. So an example of that would be if a county or state introduces a mask mandate indoors, we would follow that policy regardless of kind of where your county is based on our new system of the community levels. So when there are no such regulations in place, the return to play document will just be guidance to provide safe environments for activities and competitions. So this will just kind of be above and beyond what we will recommend or require. I guess a couple other things I'll just touch on quickly. This document still looks very similar to older versions. We have a new statistic that we'll dive into, and then we still have 3 levels of guidance: green, yellow, and orange. So we'll kind of dive into very high levels of those. But again, everything is generally guidance. It is not going to be protocol. So that was an important distinction this time around. So we'll jump ahead here. So the new statistic we will use, we have, I guess, defaulted back to what Wisconsin Department of Health Services tracks every week and posts on their website, which is the CDC community levels. So this statistic is much more holistic. It takes into account the new COVID cases per 100,000 people in the last 7 days, which in the past we used that statistic on its own to determine where we fell within the protocol. But these community levels, in addition to that, will take into account the number of hospital beds used in your county due to COVID-19 and the number of new hospital admissions. So it really focuses more so on the impact COVID is having on our health systems rather than just the spread of the virus in our communities. So this map will kind of, when we get to the resources at the end, you'll see where we have this saved, and I'll show a couple different places that we can reference this. This is updated every single Friday. So that's when the new information is posted. Will be on Fridays. So just a quick overview of our low community level for green. This is essentially no additional safety guidance is recommended. Our definition, again, just focusing on the impact on our hospital system, not only the illness in our community. For our yellow guidance, there's a couple changes here. Again, this is just guidance, so it will kind of vary by local program on what you all are comfortable with and your families are comfortable with, and at events, depending on where we're at. This is additional guidance. This will not be required, but we will encourage separation between spectators and athletes and minimizing ceremonies. And then our final orange protocol, again, focusing on the impact it has on our local healthcare system. Local healthcare systems may become overwhelmed due to increased level of severe disease. And this is the definition from CDC and Wisconsin Department of Health Services. So the SOI recommendations in the highest orange level include pre-event testing recommended, masks are strongly encouraged, verbal confirmation of no symptoms at an arrival at an event, spectators separated from athletes, and no ceremonies and distancing during awards. So again, these are just guidance. We'll kind of make determinations by event depending on the impacts that COVID is having in our community. If we get to this point again, I'm happy to say right now nobody is in orange, and I don't think I've seen orange on this map since they've been tracking it with this system. So hopefully we'll never get back to that point. And again, this is just guidance if we become inundated with severe COVID cases again in Wisconsin. So just jumping into some questions that we anticipate. COVID exposure and illness. We will just continue, or I shouldn't say we will continue. We will be following CDC guidance for exposure and illness. So what's outlined on this screen is what is currently listed by CDC guidance. If CDC guidance changes for exposure or illness, we would update at that point. So this, while it's written in text here, everything from our return to play guidance document is just linked back to the CDC website because that's what we will default to. So individuals that have been exposed to COVID should follow CDC guidance for precautions, which includes wearing a mask and watching for symptoms, getting tested 5 days after your last exposure, and just monitoring symptoms after your. Those individuals that are sick with COVID should stay home while they're sick until fever-free for 24 hours. So generally what we would recommend for anybody that's sick, regardless of the illness, is kind of what we're following here. And again, this is regardless of community level in your county, vaccination status, or previous infection. A couple more updates. So we will no longer track proof of vaccination. So the reason that we tracked that in the past was because if you remember our old chart, the green, yellow, or orange where you fell into depended on both COVID cases in your community as well as percentage of individuals vaccinated at your event. Because we are no longer using that statistic, we will no longer track proof of vaccination. So that form has been disabled and unlinked from our website. So masks will no longer be required. Throughout the guidance, they are recommended or strongly recommended, but they will not be required unless mandated by any local health authorities. And then finally, this is guidance for our local programs. So please just continue to educate your coaches, athletes, and families to do what's best for themselves based on personal risk level, and never judge or discriminate for someone's choice either to or not to get vaccinated or wear a mask. So finally, a couple of resources we have available. We'll continue to have masks and hand sanitizer available and ready at all competitions. We do have a lot of at-home tests that we received from SOI. I think most of them expire by June, but this is a resource that will no longer require for any tournaments. So if you and anyone in your community is just interested in getting a stock of some tests, please let your athletic director know and we can get those out to you. We have a ton and they'll expire sitting on a shelf. So if you can use them or anyone in your program can use them, please let us know. And then I just want to click on this to show you all our return to play web page. Can you see the web page?
We still see the PowerPoint.
Okay, hold on just 1 second. Now can you see the web page?
Yes.
So our return to play webpage has been updated with all of this information. So you can click right here on the COVID community levels in this first paragraph. Whoops. And it will take us to the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. If you scroll down to the second chart of information, this one will be the map. If it loads. Some technical difficulties. Or if we come back to our Special Olympics Wisconsin webpage, we've embedded this map in our website as well. So you can see this is linked directly from Wisconsin Department of Health Services. It's embedded, so whenever this map updates on their website, it will reflect that here. So you can see that right on our website. We do have a link to the guidelines. The FAQ right now is still the old version, so that will be updated after tonight. We just wanted to collect some of your questions here before posting some of that if anything needed to be added. And then this was the memo that you all received last week with the new guidelines. And then finally, we are still requiring the communicable diseases waiver by all athletes and coaches and volunteers and everyone associated with our events. So this will need to be continued to be completed by your athletes. So we'll continue to check that with our medical reports at the start of each tournament. Sam also includes this in her weekly medical reports to you all. So you should see that as part of her reports that come out to you.
Nicole, can I just add that if your athlete or coach or volunteer already has this waiver on file, you do not need to submit it again. It's a one and done deal.
Yes, thank you, Sam. Okay. So looking at the questions here, yeah, vaccinations, we're no longer tracking vaccination status or requiring any proof of vaccination at events. I will say we as Special Olympics are not doing that. I know for national invitationals or games that may still be something that comes through, but here at Special Olympics for any regional or state competitions, that will not be required. And yeah, so we will never require masks again unless mandated by a local county or state health authority. Our strongest mask guidance at this point would just be strongly encouraged. Do not still need to take attendance at practices? No. At tournaments, again, the strongest screening that we will do is just verbal confirmation that someone is not experiencing COVID symptoms. And again, if you're feeling sick, no matter what it is, the best recommendation is to stay home. But we do not need to record that on the rosters anymore at practices or tournaments. Any other return to play questions? Awesome. If any questions do come up, no, we do not need to ask anybody if they're still vaccinated. Special Olympics Incorporated and Special Olympics Wisconsin does still recommend that everyone get vaccinated and stay up to date on your COVID vaccines. And we will continue to provide information and resources on that, but we will not require that for any participation.
Hey, Nicole.
Yeah.
I couldn't type fast enough. So at one point, I remember in the bowling season, we talked about spectators and segregating and all that stuff. Is that all gone away also?
Yes. Yes, it has. There may be a point where we at the tournament level encourage separation as much as possible. We naturally kind of do that at our tournaments anyways, but that will no longer be a requirement at any level.
Explain what you mean by separation.
Like for, so I'm thinking of if there is a bocce competition on the football field, spectators are contained to the stands and not allowed in competition areas. We generally try to enforce that at events anyways.
Thank you.
Hey, Nicole, I was just going to add in as the guidance has come down from SOI, the way that as a staff we will interpret, to go with that is we'll still monitor community levels. We'll look at the guidance that SOI has and make a determination on how we want to approach that event based on those local regulations and based on the data that we have from Special Olympics Wisconsin. But we would also make sure that anything that would be in addition to above and beyond what we're currently doing would be clearly stated and brought up during the coaches calls and all of that type of stuff. But the biggest piece of that is that it's kind of we're determining that event by event rather than having that guiding post number that we've had in the past. So at this point, if we keep the numbers that we are, we won't necessarily have a whole lot of that, but of course we always have the chance that, that something could come up and numbers could rise, and it could get to a point where we do need to take a step back, and that we just want to make sure that we're making decisions that's safest for everybody. But we are also following the idea that that where COVID is in the US right now is a little bit different than it may have been in 2020 and 2021, and that we're just kind of following with what state and is doing with that. So.
Awesome. So we do also still have the email address active, covid@specialolympicswisconsin.org. So if you do have any questions that come up about this or any practices or events, again, your athletic directors are going to be the best people to talk to, because they'll kind of have those final event protocols determined for your competitions. But you can always reach out to myself, Jason, or covid@specialolympicswisconsin.org. And one of our staff members will get back to you there. Awesome. Okay. So now we'll jump into some of the sports of it. So if anybody hopped on today just for the return to play portion, we'll kind of move on to that into our winter and spring sports. Switch PowerPoints here. Okay. All right, can you see the PowerPoint? Yes. Awesome, thank you. So we'll jump into our winter season here. I just want to preface this. We have as many details to share as we have finalized for this event. But again, this is just kind of a short preview for winter games. So we'll continue to communicate as registrations come in on the 23rd, as well as at the coaches meeting that week prior to the event. So I also want to preface this by saying, everyone, please, 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 think snow. We need a giant snowstorm to hit before winter games. It can be isolated to Wausau, that's fine. But we're hoping for at least one more good snowstorm before the competition would make for much better environment for that. So just looking at this here, we have a little over a week before our registration deadline. So all winter games registrations are due Monday, January 23rd, 2023. Please send them to your local athletic director. That would be the best person to send them to. You can fax them into the state office, but make sure they get to somebody by Monday, January 23rd. Our scratch deadline for this event will be Friday, January 27th. And generally the scratch deadline is the date where any scratches prior to that date, we will not charge the registration fee. Generally, any scratches after that date will still be charged the registration fee. Again, we'll have that coaches meeting the Tuesday prior to the event, Tuesday, February 7th at 7 p.m. I will send out a Zoom link to that to all of the coaches that have their email addresses registered from the registration forms. And then our competition will be Saturday, February 11th and Sunday, February 12th. We'll have cross-country skiing and snowshoe back at 9 Mile Forest, alpine skiing and snowboarding just on Saturday at Granite Peak. We do have a new hotel this year, so we will be at the Holiday Inn and Suites in Rothschild. That is directly across the street from where we were previously at Stony Creek. So I just want to highlight, this information is included in the Winter Games registration form, but we do have a room block set up at the Holiday Inn with a discounted rate of $114 per night. So this is intended for participating athletes and coaches. So priority should go to them. Please don't have families book within that block. So you can book online. There is a link embedded in that registration form, or you can call the hotel directly. And I'll share that phone number in a recap email to book, and use the rate code SOW to get that discounted rate. So They didn't put the I on there for Wisconsin, just SOW. So on the registration form, it does say that the room block ended on Tuesday, but they actually extended it a week, knowing that we had this opportunity to talk to you all tonight. So the room block is still open to book rooms through next Tuesday, January 17th. So if you have not booked your rooms yet, please do that ASAP. That room block will go away, including the discounted rate on Tuesday, January 17th. And then finally, rooms in this block will be direct billed to SOE. You may still have to put a credit card on file for incidentals, but that will be direct billed. I'll get a copy of that room list next week and follow up with anybody if I have questions. But that is all set up to be direct billed to SOE if you have an in-house account for those rooms. I'm actually going to open up the SOE website again. Can you guys see that? Can anybody see the SOE website?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you, Amber. So if you come into events, we have our Winter Games event page up and running. So this will have all the details for the competition. So we have the event schedule here. Like I said, alpine skiing and snowboarding just on Saturday at Granite Peak. It's going to be the exact same timeline that we've had for however many years. I pulled this directly from 2020, the last time we scheduled a 2-day competition to be run. So competition will start at 11 for alpine skiing with some inspection, the course open for inspection before that. We will do the Alpine Awards again back at the hotel before the opening ceremonies. Again, cross country skiing, same schedule as it was back in 2020 and before. So we'll have a couple finals as well as the 1K trial on Saturday. And then a couple final, or all the rest of the finals on Sunday. Snowshoe racing, same thing. We'll start with a relay, have a couple finals and trials on Saturday, the remaining finals on Sunday. We do also plan to build in a young athletes snowshoe demo into Saturday as well. So that will be a fun little activity on Saturday. So this web page will continue to be updated. So please feel free to reference here if you have any questions about snowshoe. I hope you will be able to find your answer by going to that page. So just going through some meals and activities. Unfortunately, the Holiday Inn does not offer continental breakfast, but we have a solution for Sunday that should be pretty fun and exciting. So on Saturday, our meals and activities will start with competition on Saturday morning, starting at 10 at Granite Peak, around noon at 9 Mile. We will have lunch at Granite Peak. It'll be a bagged sandwich lunch again with a veggie option if needed. And at 9 Mile, we will have a soup buffet as we've done in the past. Competition will run throughout the day. Sometime in between competition and the opening ceremonies and dance, we will have that virtual polar plunge option that Bev was referring to. So we are working with the local fire department in the village of Rothschild to help us set up a plunging activity. So there's a couple options floating around. They had to check with their insurance and liability to approve anything. So we're still waiting to hear back on that. But we do have a couple options for that. So it's either going to be at the hotel, probably around 4:30 after the end of competition, some time to get back to the hotel, take the virtual plunge with us, and then some time before the opening ceremonies to go get cleaned up and changed. The second option would be at 9 Mile around 3:30, sometime immediately following competition. So there will be something Details are not finalized, but we do invite any local community programs to come out and plunge with us, any athletes or coaches participating in winter games, or even any community members if they're not associated with a program, will be welcome to come join us. So the way that you participate in that is actually, pull it up again here. So if we come to our 2023 polar plunge, if you click on, I want to virtual plunge, you're going to register here for the virtual plunge. So you can just set up your team. Again, as Mark said, please make sure to put your agency number in that team name. And just go ahead and register, collect donations. It's $100 to get up to the level where you will get a t-shirt and be able to participate in the plunge. And then there's additional incentives you can earn after that. So if you do sign up for the virtual plunge, and if you do plan to participate, please send me an email to let me know. We're going to try to get in on a shirt order for everybody who's going to be participating at Winter Games. So if you let me know that you'll be there, I can make sure to try to have at least your shirt there ready for you as you take the plunge.
I'll put in the plug. I'll put in the plug that I'll be plunging during this virtual plunge too. So if you guys want to join me on that. And as Nicole said, we are determined to have this happen on that Saturday for Winter Games. It's just once we know more details, we'll send that out to everybody so they can know what's exactly going on and time frame and location and all that stuff too. So I appreciate patience, but if you want to plunge and you want to join us in a virtual plunge at Winter Games, that we do plan on having that.
We have a, Nicole, kind of a target date for the shirts that we need to let you know?
Yes, there is. I think it's Friday, February 3rd. Is that? No.
They wanted Thursday, February 2nd.
Thursday, February 2nd.
3rd. Yep. So
great call, Deb. Yeah. So let us know by Thursday, February 2nd if you plan to plunge. And again, you can always participate with us and let us know after that point, but we would not have the shirts available for you then. You would just get them in the mail after the plunge season with the rest of your incentives as they mail out all of the virtual plunge stuff. Virtual. So that's a great question, Rick. I don't know, Jason, if you have any insight into some of that. I do know our marketing team will be there. We'll be on site. We will have our videographer there who does some contract work for us. So I do believe it will be recorded and captured and shared, but virtual, I don't know. What's the definition of the virtual plunge, Jason?
Well, I mean, definition of any of the virtual plunges is just that you're doing a polar plunge outside of one of our in-person polar plunges. But I think that's a great idea. As we're kind of planning this out, this is something that we want to try out for this year, and then hopefully maybe something that we can continue. But with marketing there and all that stuff, we can maybe see if we can do it on Facebook live or something like that as well. If people want to enjoy that, but we would definitely be documented and shared and celebrated as part of the polar plunge.
Did you have anything to add, Mark?
No, we're excited to do this. We've heard you, Bev. We've heard the people within the region, and we're excited. And the nice thing is, Jason's taking the plunge, so take advantage of that with that. But it's just trying to give opportunities, and that's the key. So enjoy and sign up.
Bev, I may have to reach out to you for costume ideas.
Okay.
Awesome. So as we've had in the past at Winter Games as well, while that plunge option is going on, we are working to get some lifeguards confirmed so that we can have recreational swimming open at the hotel pool. So that shouldn't be an issue, but right now it's TBD just as we confirm those lifeguards for that. And then we'll have our ceremony, dinner, and dance at the banquet room in the Holiday Inn and Suites in Rothschild. So it's a really nice hotel. I don't know if anybody stayed there for state bowling, but it's a great facility. And they're excited to host a group. And then jumping to Sunday, we are going to be able to offer breakfast to all of our athletes and coaches. The Knights of Columbus local chapter is actually going to host a pancake breakfast for us. So I'm working with them still to determine a location. I'm hoping that it will just be at 9 Mile in the tent, but I will confirm that and send out information. Again, that should be finalized sooner rather than later and go out in kind of that first round of communication to any coaches that have registered for that. Okay.
Paul, is that going to be included in our registration, or is there an extra
Yes.
charge?
Not an extra charge for the Sunday breakfast. That's included. Any other winter games questions? Awesome. If anything comes up, I'm always at my desk, so feel free to give me a call, and I'd be happy to chat about winter games. So next we will jump into spring season. So again, this is just going to kind of be a spring season preview, and then we'll touch lightly on some stuff for our state spring games, but this will really just kind of be jumping through each sport and answering any questions you guys have with some of the new changes that are coming down this year, or just any questions in general. So I'm going to talk about swimming, and then I'm going to hand it off to Mark and drink some water and stop talking for hopefully a long time. But for swimming this year, this is a new sport for this season. So swimming will be about a month earlier or so for that regional competition. And we actually have combined a couple of the swim meets this year. So we will offer 3 regional swim meets. Regions 4 and 5 will compete Sunday, March 12th in Oshkosh. Regions 2, 3, and 6 will compete Saturday, March 18th in Wisconsin Rapids at Lincoln High School. This is a great facility and a great swim team that supports Special Olympics Wisconsin. So it should be a good move that we're able to get up there. We're hoping to combine a couple events and just add athletes to make sure that we have a strong competitive environment for everybody to compete in. And then the District 8 swim meet, Region 7 and 8 will compete Saturday, April 1st at Peps Farms, YMCA in Economowoc. We'll do our traditional quota system to advance to spring games for swimming. So quota will be announced after the last registration deadline on Wednesday, March 15th. And we will, athletes will advance from these 3 events to our competition at spring games, Saturday, April 15th and Sunday, April 16th. In terms of the event offerings at spring games, it will be the exact same 2-day schedule that we've run at state games in years in the past. So just looking at the chat quickly. So the rule for swimming, yeah, there's SOI has a policy for recreational swimming at competitions. So there's no recreational swimming allowed unless there's a lifeguard on site. That's why we provide a lifeguard at the hotel for a brief period of time in between competition and the dance at Winter Games. Housing will be available for swimmers at state. Yep, we'll dive into that a little bit later on, but we should have housing available for everyone that's interested at state. Yes, in the dorms. Bev Schmidt, sorry, Bev, I have to call you out on this. Just asked who Adam Lober is. So Adam, if you want to chime in really quick and introduce yourself, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Adam. I took over for Nicole as the Region 6 Athletic Director just before Thanksgiving this year.
Yeah, so Adam's awesome. Adam will be at Winter Games and at many more events coming up this year. So please say hi, introduce yourself. I'm sure he may know like a cousin or a friend that you have because he knows everyone in the state of Wisconsin. So thank you, Adam. Okay, so that's just a brief kind of swimming overview. Mark, if you want to take it away with basketball skills.
Hello there. The change this year is one, as mentioned, we're bringing back basketball skills back to the university, in addition to 3v3 and team, and we'll get kind of a little more detail on that in just a second. As noted here, the District 3 basketball skills, which includes 2, 3, and part of 6, will be at UW Stout on February 19th, which is in conjunction with their regional basketball tournament as well. District 4, which includes regions 4 and 5, will be September 5th or March 5th, September, at Neenah High School, which also will be run in conjunction with team basketball. District 7 is part of 6 and 7 at Lake Geneva High School. And then, of course, Region 8 will be at Kettle Moraine Lutheran School. So those are all the dates. Again, as Sam had mentioned, physicals due the 1st of February, so making sure that they're in. We'll get more specifics as we get a little bit closer, getting past Winter Games. In addition to the tournament itself, skills and 3v3 will be Friday night, right? Dinner will be made available Friday. Competition 6 to, well, the final time will be determined by the number of teams registered for 3v3 as well as the number of skills. We're working out logistics. We feel confident everything will fit in for Friday night for those 2 events. Saturday and Sunday will be team. It will be all of golf for the six courts utilized for golf for those 2 days. Again, it's still the round robin format, so it'll be breakfast, lunch, and dinner Friday or Saturday, breakfast on Sunday. Housing, we have the Grunhagen and another dorm, as well as we're working with the local hotel association that is working on some other available accommodations. And we will make that available to you as well. Depending upon where that is, there's discussions on shuttles. That's a work in process sort of thing. So we're excited with the new format. And the biggest thing to remember is that you can do 3v3 and swim. All right, so if you can participate in both. So and Jason states swimmers at the Oconomowoc meet will have an extension for that. And so if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, but just figure skills and 3v3 Friday, team Saturday and Sunday. Swim will be Saturday and Sunday as well. And there should be plenty of beds. They're ready for us there. So any questions? There will be a sectional tournament as well for teams. So there regional information. We will have a lottery that moves on to sectionals. and then on to state. So that's, again, it's all dependent upon registrations for those events. So anticipate the same process as years gone by. So,
Hey, Mark, I have a question.
sure.
Is there going to be a three on three regional or sectional tournament, or is it just state?
You sign up, you're required to play 2 games against another 3 on 3. We're hoping that someone steps up for kind of a tournament per se of just 3v3. We know the sport tournament is looking at having 3v3 there. It is not required, but remember, the biggest thing to remember is you either have to, your team has to sign up for 5v5 or 3v3. You can't go from 5v5, and if you don't qualify, you sign up. It's an either or right from the start. So we have kind of an anticipated number for state based on the intent of plays. There's no sectional tournament, but you will be required to play a minimum of 2 games. So if you can set a tournament up, that's great. And as for skills, it is just Friday, right? It's just Friday evening. 3v3 is just Friday, right? Team basketball then will take over call Saturday and Sunday.
Hey,
So they can-
Tyler. Sorry to interrupt, Mark. Team Milwaukee with their invitational is looking to do 3v3 as well. So if you guys are looking to get some games in, contact Katie.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, thank you, Mark, and thank you, Amber. I was just gonna say MPS is very kind in putting on a tournament for 3 on 3, so we'll be getting our 2 games in.
Fantastic.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Mark,
Yeah. Yes,
Mark, just to make sure I understand it, and I think you said it, but sometimes it takes me twice to listen. So it's either or 5 on 5 or 3 on 3.
correct.
And I see Amber nodding her head.
Yes,
Okay, so we have to choose.
correct. And
3
they'll
on
play
3
the
was
same.
great last year. 3 on 3 was great last year.
We're excited to continue and expand. So there'll be a round robin format in both 5v5 and 3v3. So you'll certainly get games in once you're there. You can certainly, we are anticipating teams staying overnight, whether it be skills, 3v3 team. It is set up for, if you want to stay overnight, even if it's one night, you certainly have that option for that. So when when you look through the registration, options are there. But yes, you can stay overnight if you're in skills. And the same thing with 3v3.
So just to follow up on a couple of questions in the chat. So quickly jumping back to swimming. For the race start, athletes cannot start on the block, but they can start either in the water or from the side of the pool deck. So no blocks. They can be either in the water or from the side of the pool deck. And that rule has not changed. That's been consistent with years past. So there's no changes there in terms of the start for swimming. And yes, for Region 8, your swimming on April 1st is after the state games registration deadline. So we expect you to turn in any other registration by that registration deadline and sending that final athlete roster for swimming the Monday after your event. And Amber will work with you all directly. Amber and Brooke will work with you all directly to make sure that everybody has everything they need for that to get in on time. And then a couple other things that came up here. Yeah, so as Mark mentioned, I just want to reiterate, basketball skills and 3v3 teams can stay in dorm housing at UW Oshkosh. They can stay both nights over the whole weekend as long as you maintain the same chaperone ratio of the 4-to-1 throughout the weekend. And I'm sure Brittany will touch on it a little bit later, but we would love for you to stay over at least Friday night and come to some of our healthy athlete activities that we'll have at spring games on Saturday. Yeah,
There's-
Brittany linked to our basketball skills webpage. So we should have the district forms up for that. The state spring games registration form is almost finalized. That will be posted and sent out very soon. But all of the regional registration forms for swimming, basketball skills, and team basketball should be posted.
There
go ahead,
is no in-practice competition for skills.
For anything.
Correct.
And then Mark, do you just want to touch on the basketball skills level 1 10-meter dribble versus speed dribble?
Yes, there's a change this year, and I'm hoping everyone had a chance to review the rules. If you've noticed in past, there was what we refer to as a speed dribble. You're essentially in a circle, and it's how many dribbles, legitimate dribbles, legal dribbles you can make within a minute, right? This is essentially a developmental sport or event, right? It's geared towards those athletes that still want to compete, but are from whether they're in a wheelchair or cane, or there's a handicap, they're older, slower, that type of thing. So what we've done is we've incorporated it as part of level 1. So you sign up for either the ones with the speed dribble, then you have the spot shot and the wall pass, or you have the 10-meter dribble, spot shot, wall pass. Now, please remember that gear the speed dribble, which essentially you're just standing within this circle and dribbling, and we're counting the number of legal dribbles within a minute. That look at it as a developmental, or those with, those that are within a wheelchair or utilize a cane or a walker. This gives them the opportunity to compete. And then we will division them together with others that are within this new event. Well, it's kind of a modified event. So any questions on it? It's a fairly straightforward event. It's just, you just have to make that choice based on the ability of the athlete. Look at it as the developmental side versus level 1 with the speed or 10-meter dribble.
And Mark, there is a direct question for that in the chat. So if my athlete in a wheelchair can dribble with 2 hands, it won't count and she will get a 0 for the score. Or if she dribbles with 1 hand for 1 dribble, does she get 1 point?
Yes, she would get 1 point. So that is the beauty of the speed dribble. If you put that individual into this, they're stationary, they can hold on to their, if they're in a wheelchair, it's just how many you can do within a minute. So if you bounce it 1 legal, they hold it, try it again, you get another legal, so what can you accumulate within that minute? So it gives them the chance to succeed, which is different than what we've had in the past, where they'd had to dribble, roll 2, dribble, roll 2, it's just, this is more beneficial to them. Does that make sense? Hopefully.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. A couple other questions that came through. I believe for spring games, the distance that would qualify a local program for housing is 30 miles. Again, I'll confirm that. Jason Schicka said yes. So I think that's good.
Yeah, and that's just setting the radius so that those dorms are available for those that are coming from further. Again, some of that, the reason why we have to do that at times is just that dorm availability. But if you have any questions directly about that, please reach out to us and we can work with you.
Yeah, and that 30-mile radius is specific to spring games. That will not necessarily be the same at events we'll be having in the future. Part of the reason that we've moved locations for some of our events is that there will be more dorm space available. So that'll just kind of be a tournament by tournament basis. But for this particular event, it will be a 30-mile radius for the dorm availability. And then I do also want to just touch base. There were a couple questions about districts for 3v3. that is a state-only event this year. However, based on the interest we've seen so far and more interest here tonight, there is a chance that we'll be adding that to district level competition next year, kind of just based on the number of teams that we have coming to compete at spring games this year. So Mark kind of jumped ahead here, but this is my list of team basketball competition. So everyone will attend their appropriate regional event in February or early March, advancing to either Northern sectional basketball Sunday, March 19th at UW-Stevens Point, or Southern sectional basketball Saturday, March 18th at McGuanago. And then both of those events, again, will advance to spring games with team competition April 15th and 16th. 3v3 basketball, we also touched on again. We will have both unified and traditional competition. It's going to be a roster of 5. They play half court, 2 10-minute halves, their first team to 20. So much shorter games, not necessarily running the full court, but it's a super fun event. So we're excited to be continuing on with this. I also just wanted to highlight our spring season multi-sport options. So Mark also touched on this already, but athletes must choose one basketball offering. So either 5v5, 3v3, or basketball skills. They can't compete in multiple basketball competitions. And again, please just help athletes identify which event is going to be the best suited for their ability level. Athletes in swimming may compete in basketball skills or 3v3 basketball. And again, athletes in basketball skills or 3v3 can compete in swimming over the weekend. And the reason team basketball players cannot also compete in swimming is because of the scheduling conflict at spring games. So that's a quick overview for that. And then Michelle, yes, you do need to have 2 scrimmage games for 3v3 basketball when submitting registration.
The only deal, because of her location, if you having trouble, Michelle, please let me know and we'll have discussions regarding that based on your location. So understand the issues you may be facing up there. So just let us know.
The other thing I want to mention for 3v3 basketball, because it's one of our newest sport offerings, we do plan to host a coaches training for that. So our wonderful intern, Caitlin, will be returning to Special Olympics Wisconsin for the spring semester. She was at a couple events this past fall, if anyone was able to meet her. So she will be helping to coordinate that and bring in some basketball experts, most likely our good friend, Mr. Wolfgram, to kind of give a complete overview of 3v3 basketball, jump into all kinds of specific rules, drills, and all that good stuff. So that will be coming down the pipe as well, but nothing is scheduled for that yet.
Hey, Mark, I got a question for you. We've got 3 teams for 3-on-3. Can they play each other once or not?
Yes. Once. Yes. Yes.
Okay, and the other, I got one more question. It's about the 5-on-5. We played one of our teams is splitting to go to 3-on-3, but we played them at the Sheboygan tournament. When we turn in our paperwork for district, do I count that game or not?
If they're splitting, no. Because if they're going to 3v3, the 5v5 wouldn't matter because it's the way the game's played.
Okay, I know we're having a tournament the 28th. We may be able to get some 3-on-3 in there, but I'd have to talk to Annette and John about it. But for the last hour, we probably only be using 2 out of the 3 courts. So we could probably get a couple of games in there if we have to.
Yeah.
I just have to talk to Keith and the rest of his referee, his staff.
And with the times of 3v3, you should be able to get the way one full game goes for 5v5, you can run a couple 3v3 games, so you're not being delayed.
Yeah, I've played a few of them already. We know we can score 20 points pretty quick.
Yeah,
I see a question in the chat regarding Region 8. I did send out the intent to play spreadsheet, so everybody should have the contact information. I don't know who that is, but if you want to tell me or message me, I can send it to you again.
Yeah, so if you are in need of another copy of that intent to play list, please just contact your local athletic director and they can resend that information. Okay, so quick overview for our spring games state competition. Registration deadline will be Monday, March 27th. Sorry about that. Scratch deadline will be Friday, March 31st. And then the coaches meeting the prior Tuesday, April 11th at 7 p.m. and competition, again, 3v3 in basketball skills Friday night. And then swimming and team basketball Saturday and Sunday from April 14th to 16th. And everything will be on campus at UW Oshkosh. So our tentative competition schedule, basketball skills and 3v3 competition will start Friday at 6 p.m. And then Saturday competition, again, this is exactly the same as the schedule has been in years past. We'll start team basketball at, that's actually 9:30, I believe. And then swimming from 8 or 9 to 4 p.m. Warm-ups probably starting at 8. Sunday, April 16th, team basketball competition, 7:30 to 4:30, swimming 8 to about 12 or 12:30. Spring games, meals, and activities. So Friday, April 14th, and again, I want to say these times right now are probably close to accurate, but tentative. Final times may change and will be posted on the website kind of as soon as we have some of that information set. We plan to have dinner open from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Friday. And if you register for all of the meals through our registration process, those will all take place at the dining facility at Blackhawk on UW Oshkosh's campus. So you can get in anytime between 4 and 7 for dinner. We'll have our opening ceremonies at UW Oshkosh from 5 to 5:30, with competition starting shortly after that at 6 p.m. And we'll take us into the night with 3v3 competition on Friday. Saturday, we'll have breakfast from 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Again, that'll be at the dining facility Blackhawk, which is just kind of kitty corner from the dorms. So for those that have not been to UW Oshkosh, it's right there, kind of right in between the dorms and the competition venue. Swim, my times are all over the place, so I apologize. Will be generally 8 or 9 to 3 p.m. on Saturday. Basketball games starting at 9:30, ending around 6 or 6:30. I will let Brittany speak on this in just a second. We'll have lots of healthy athlete offerings at spring games. Lunch will be back at the dining facility at Blackhawk, 11:15 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's also a concession stand open where all of the basketball courts are in Colf. We will have dinner on Saturday, again, back at Blackhawk from 5 to 7. There will also be an athlete leader reunion at spring games. So Jeannie is unable to hop on tonight, but she wanted me to share some information. They will be doing an athlete leader reunion, so more information will be coming out about that. It will include some dinner and games and just a chance for all of our athlete leaders to connect and talk about what they've been doing. And they'll include some fun games and activities as part of that event. And then we'll conclude Saturday with our dance from 7 to 9. Sunday, same time for breakfast. Once again, at the dining facility Blackhawk. We'll finish out swim competition in the morning. Basketball will once again run for most of the day. And we will have a lunch pickup option available. That will be a boxed lunch for an additional fee to add to your registration, as we've normally done for spring games in the past. So yeah, this schedule is very similar to this schedule for basketball is basically the same thing we've run at IST in the past. And the swim schedule is basically the same thing we've run at summer games in the past. So everything is very similar to what we've done pre-COVID for these sports. All right, Brittany, take it away.
I won't talk too much because things are still being finalized, but just wanted to give everyone a heads up that we will have healthy athletes at spring games. I guess first I'll back up. We'll have a fitness activity Friday night during the time of competition for those that either aren't competing or have breaks in their schedule. So keep an eye out for that. The specific time and location is kind of still being determined based on what the competition schedule looks like. On Saturday, we will have our traditional healthy athletes. So we will have opening eyes and healthy hearing located in Grunhagen, which is the dorm in the same place it's been the past several years. Opening eyes will have an option to sign up for a time slot ahead of time. That information isn't sent out yet, but be on the lookout for that. You don't have to sign up ahead of time. It just gives you that option so you can it's like a fast pass to get through because that particular discipline does take some time to get through. And then we will also have special smiles and fun fitness in Culf, which is the basketball venue. Right, can't miss us. We'll be right in the middle of tournament play. And that again will be Saturday. The specific times are kind of still be determined, but it'll be right during competition. We will have a remote special smile screening at the swim venue, so swimmers won't be left out. Hopefully you can make your way over to the other healthy athlete disciplines, but at the very least, you'll have the option to see special smiles. And I will say you do not have to be competing at spring games to attend healthy athletes. So if you are local, or even if you're not local and you're willing to drive, we will take you through healthy athletes and get your athletes screened in any or all of the disciplines. And I will say, if you do at least 3 of the 4 disciplines, there's a special incentive for athletes who do that. So more information to come when we get to the tournament specific meetings, but keep an eye out for all that info. That's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Brittany. We did have one more question about lunch for swimmers. So the swimmers will also eat lunch at Blackhawk. I did just quickly pull up a map of UW Oshkosh. So everything is super close on campus. Can you guys see the map? Yeah, okay. So this pink building here is Grunhagen. So this will be where the dorms are. We will have one other building of overflow dorms, but I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Webster Hall, I believe. So that'll be right over here. Blackhawk Commons is the dining facility. So again, just kind of kitty quarter from Grunhagen dorms. Just up the road is Culf, which is where all of our basketball competition will be held. And then there's a walkway kind of right through campus here to Albee Hall and Pool, which is where the swimming is. So everything is super close. Again, Albee is just kind of right up the street from the other side of Blackhawk here. There will be a break in the schedule for swimmers to be able to go grab lunch from Albee. So everything is pretty condensed into that section of campus. Okay. So I touched briefly on the athlete leader reunion that will be held at spring games. And again, I believe Jeannie will be inviting all athlete leaders. So whether or not your athlete leader from your programs are attending state games, they will be invited to attend this reunion. So that will be a really fun activity that will be part of the whole weekend of events. The second thing she was going to talk about is athlete leader activation station. And actually, this is not only going to be at spring games, but it's going to be at all of our upcoming state games in 2023. So winter games, spring games, summer games, fall games, and bowling. And so Jeannie and her team of Unified Leadership Specialists, which are some of our athletes that are on staff at Special Olympics Wisconsin, they will be having stations at all of our state games events where they want to connect with athlete leaders, past athlete leaders, to learn what they're doing, what they're up to, what they've been doing in their community or leading in their programs. Talk about upcoming athlete leader courses that will be available. I don't know them. I don't know, Brittany, if you know of any of the upcoming ones off the top of your head. I do know there will be an Athletes as Coaches leadership course coming up here soon in the spring. Do you know any of the other ones that are coming up?
Yeah, I believe Athletes as Coaches is in February already. So if you're interested in that, I recommend reaching out to Jeannie or anyone and we can get you to the right person sooner than later. We will likely be piloting a fitness captain workshop in March or April, to be determined. We're piloting that, so we're still learning. And then I don't remember them all off the top of my head, but there are workshops basically every month of the year. So you can head to our website to learn more. I'll try to find a link for that while we're
talking. So Jeannie and her team they're basically going to have a station at every state game where new or interested athlete leaders can come and talk to her and her team about kind of what's coming up or what they've been up to and how they can continue to be involved in various leadership roles. So that is the athlete leader or unified leadership update. And then quick question that came through the chat, gluten-free lunch is available. Yes. So if any of your athletes have dietary needs or restrictions, please make sure to include that on a special needs form. And there will be options for them at every meal for a competition. That's the end. So do we have any additional questions about spring season or really anything else we talked about here tonight?
Hey, Nicole, I just have one question. Now, for basketball, if somebody would get like injured or sick right before we're supposed to leave, we'll still have to pay the registration fee for him, or do we need to get a medical excuse or what?
Registration fees will still be charged. And that's generally consistent with how we've always been in the past. We've always had the scratch deadline. So for state competitions, our registration deadline is the Monday 3 weeks prior, and the scratch deadline is the following Friday. And so that's generally been consistent with how we've charged. We're working on becoming a little bit better about working with each of you on that, especially, but the thing is kind of, we make housing guarantees based on your registration to our venues, and then we're still on the hook for those rooms, even if someone scratches or doesn't come to the event. So we do not want to do that, but it's just kind of part of the system of how we have to be accountable to these venues as well. So yes, that is the case, but I would say we are working to continue to evaluate that process and kind of try to find ways to help all of us avoid those unnecessary expenses.
I'll just
Jason,
add,
did you have something to add?
yeah, I was just going to add in too, like the fees that are charged for those events, dorms, and even if they're if you're just doing competition or competition to meals on campus, but staying off campus or commuting to campus, we do still subsidize a portion of the cost for that. So programs aren't paying the full cost for those things as well. So by having that scratch deadline, it helps us get those guarantees that we're already going to pay for the universities or the host venues. And even on top of that, we're still subsidizing that other additional cost on top of it. So again, I think, obviously there's some very extreme circumstances we can have a conversation, but typically we've held true to those scratch deadlines just as a way to, because of that, when we have to lock in our pricing for those events, it's hard we won't be getting any sort of refund on that type of thing back from the university, even if somebody were to scratch, a week prior to the event.
Go ahead.
Says, I have a question for Mark, probably. Mark, the skill level, if is a skill level, if a team is level 1, is that the highest skill level or the lowest skill level
For teams.
for team basketball?
That's low, 1 is low, 10 is high. 1
10
is
is-
low, 10 is high.
Okay, all right, very good, thank you.
You're welcome. And we are working on hotels with regarding spring games for options and such. So we're waiting for some feedback, but we will be providing that information as soon as we can. If that's a preference for your stay. So that will be an option.
Okay.
There's ask for clarification on that, Mark. So I think that might be in terms of the rating that they're received as opposed to like Division 1, Division 2. Maybe that's where the confusion is.
When you rate your team and you look at the basic skills, 1 should be they lack a whole lot of stuff, where 10 you could be essentially near a JV level high school team is what we look at. So Glenn, I'm going to throw your team, your Badgers out there. They're essentially an 8 in skill level, speed, endurance, that type of thing. That's all part of that. So those in the past, if you were in a Division 15 at IST, you're certainly at the 2-3 level sort of thing with that. So utilize the high number as a JV level high school competitive team, and then work down from there.
Well, that's where I usually tell them to referee our games at a, like a JV level, but the competition isn't out there this year. I know it's so far.
Correct. And we're hoping, well, people are still coming back from COVID. Our numbers aren't as, based on the intent to plays, there aren't as many teams that had signed up, but we're just coming back. So we're hoping that changes as the years grow. You're looking at future things with unified and all of that is 3v3, if that grows some, that type of thing. So there's all kinds of different options we're hoping to, but we're just coming back from COVID. So we were excited with the number of the intent to play. Hopefully we're close to that. But
Okay.
cross our fingers.
For 3-on-3, we have to rank them accordingly like that too, like a 9 if they're top level and 10 or 1 if they're low?
It's 3v3 is a little bit tougher, but you're still ranking your players and the team format. So you should use the same system. So if let's say you take Jimmy and Nathan and someone off that Lakers, they're a strong team. So they're still going to be within the 3v3 world, a high 7-8 number. So that the skill set doesn't change. So you're using the same format.
Well, basically last year I split my team up in the 2 teams and we both stayed at the upper level.
Yeah. So, but now we have more teams. So we're hoping that knock wood, evens itself out.
I'm just trying to figure out how we're supposed to rank the 3 teams that we have, because I don't know. I know that
when you look at your teams, figure you've got 3 teams. One's got to be a 1, there's a 2, and there's a 3 in a pecking order. They shouldn't all be identical, or it's rare that they are. So you essentially could, Glenn, have a 8-7-6 or an 8-7-7. We're going to do our best not to put programs together, but you never know until the final numbers.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I've got to figure out how to get games for them now. So we'll maybe try and throw some in our tournament. So I'll have to talk to Annette and John and see what happens.
Mark, I just want to make sure everyone feels comfortable with this topic. So there's a lot of questions in the chat. So is this different from years past? It seems like several people are not confused, but just kind of questioning it.
With the rating system, you mean?
I believe so.
Right, so
There's like half a dozen people saying it has changed from years.
well, it's been inconsistent, right? So we've had all over the place, even at one regional, some rank their teams as a 1 being the high and 10 being the low. Some come in the other way. So we've come out and said, here's how you do it. We're looking at 1 is low, 10 is high. So we're just creating the consistency because there wasn't any. So you rate the system, you rate your teams the exact same way, just look at it as 10 is high and 1 is low. So
I think that probably helps because I think people just, it wasn't clear in the past and now we're making it clear. So hopefully
Correct.
that helps answer.
correct. We had a mixed bag.
Yeah, because
So
I know
now-
last Sunday,
Yeah.
Sunday, Wigan was bad.
Yeah.
John was having a nightmare over there trying to rank things, so.
There's a question, is this universal for skills and teams in what aspect? I'm not sure as it relates to skills. Ratings? For skills of the players on the teams, it is universal as to how you assess. So I can certainly, we have a form that we look at when rating players. I can share that with Nicole and the team. If you would like a copy of that rating, how we look at it, of a general assessment of your players, but it's essentially, if you're a basketball coach and look at it, someone can dribble, someone cannot, someone can dribble around people, some can, that type of thing, can handle fast breaks and that type of thing. So you're assessing their skill level, not only as an individual, but how do they do against others. I have that information to share.
And after a quick look through some of our forms and rules and webpage, I do not know if this is outlined anywhere. So we will add that to the registration form and re-upload it to the website, as well as just add it into the body of text in the website so that it's easily found.
And there was a question I think kind of got lost in the chat. Is there lunch at district events?
I would say that information would come out from each individual athletic director, what the lunch options are. Sometimes that is concessions, and sometimes there may be a way for programs to order lunches in one way, shape, or form. So I would just keep in touch with who your host tournament is.
Okay, at the risk of beating a dead horse. And I know this before I asked it. So we do the ratings on 1 to 10, 10 being top, 1 being low. I get that. And then cumulatively, as you play games, you get ratings from your coaches, from other coaches, and all that. And that creates the grouping by divisions. Where did I go wrong?
Part of the thing that you add is we have people looking at the teams. So after that, not only, we'll do our best, and please understand that that's the reason for the 2 games. So we can, if there's plenty of invitationals out there, so that gives us a chance. And we're certainly set up to, I have a number on my calendar that I will be road tripping to. But we have a number of individuals that are looking at the teams and at the invitational. So not only will we take your ratings, the other thing that we ask is when you complete those forms, on the back of that is places for you to write notes. So if you play, Rick, if you play, Michaela's team, and you're far superior, make some notes regarding that. My team dominated. We had, we're taller, better ball handle, so we read the notes as well to help us so we can put you in proper divisions. If there's a bunch of you that all say you're fives, you know, it helps us do some of that assessment. But we also do a lot of visual and take notes for those. So it's a combination of a whole lot of stuff when we do divisionings, and then when we go from regionals to sectionals, there's input from all the athletic directors and people that were part of the team to make that up. And then when we get to state, so it's not a one-man show, thank goodness. You know, it's a team effort looking at, and if we can get, and Bob's well aware, if we can get 80% right, we're happy, just because there are some teams that just may be off that day. It may be a meds in the morning or a meds in the evening, or they didn't sleep well, or the weather's bad, or they had a fight with their girlfriend, and you know how it goes. So things beyond our control. Hopefully that answers, or I just babbled. Either one.
Yes, it answered.
I don't know, the 2 games we played on Sunday, I mean, I basically kept 3 of my starters out because the games would have been so lopsided, it was unreal. So I don't know how to rank that one.
Just like that.
Yeah, include that in the commentary. That's helpful information.
Yeah. It makes sense to me.
And that's probably what's gonna happen in two Rivers too, that's the problem. I can't find any 8, 9 teams around there.
So, any other questions?
Awesome. Thank you all for your time tonight. Hour and a half right on the dot. So please go enjoy the rest of your evenings. And it's exciting getting into some of these basketball conversations. It's been a very long time since we've had team basketball. So I hope everyone is excited as we are to get some of these competitions back up and running. And here's hoping to a more normal year. And think of snow. Everyone think of snow. And with that, please have a good night.
Yeah.